What's the most terrifying part of a first date? Is it the awkward silences? The fear you'll spill a drink? Or is it that nagging worry that the person across the table won't see you for who you really are? For Liam, that fear was a little more literal. He was about to walk into a blind date, his stomach churning with the usual first date jitters. He worried about saying the wrong thing, about being judged, about whether his carefully picked shirt was as nice as his sister promised. But his biggest worry was a familiar one, the moment he'd have to explain his world. A world without sight. Liam thought his greatest challenge was making someone else understand his life. He had no idea that in less than an hour, he'd be sitting across from the one person who didn't need an explanation at all. Hook, the monologue in my head is always loudest right before a date. It's like a frantic dress rehearsal for a play I've never even read. What if I say the wrong thing? What if she thinks my cane is, I don't know, a weird accessory? First dates are hard enough, but that "but" is always there. The part where I have to find the right words, the right moment, to say, by the way, I'm blind. It's like walking a conversational tightrope. Time it wrong, say it too early, and it's all we talk about. Say it too late, and it feels like I was hiding something that I check my collar for the third time, a completely useless gesture. My friend, Mark, always says, just be yourself, man. It's good advice, but which self? The confident guy who can navigate a city with a cane and a memory map, or the nervous wreck who's currently practicing how to say, hello, without sounding like he just ran a marathon? I take a deep breath. Her name is Clara. Her profile was funny. Her voice on the phone was warm, like honey and sunshine. That's what I'm holding on to. The sound of her voice. Section 1, the setup. The bus ride to the cafe is a symphony of familiar sounds. The rhythmic hum of the engine, the jolt as it pulls from the curb, the faint smell of rain on hot pavement. I've made this trip 100 times, but today, every detail feels cranked up to 11. Planning is everything when you're blind. You don't just spontaneously pop into a new place. I had to choose the venue myself, a cafe I knew, with a simple layout and a menu I'd already looked up online. It's all about minimizing the variables, giving myself a home field advantage in a game that always feels like it's being played away. I step off the bus, my cane sweeping in a familiar arc, tapping against the curb, then the sidewalk. 47 steps to the corner, turn right, then 65 more to the cafe door. A little bell chimes as I walk in. The aroma of coffee and baked bread wraps around me. It's comforting. A table for two, please, I say to the voice that greets me from the counter. Of course. Under what name? Liam. My date, Clara, should be here soon. She guides me to a small table near the window. The worn wood of the chair feels solid. I sit, folding my cane and placing it beside me. And then I wait. The waiting is its own special kind of torture, a void filled with the clatter of forks, the murmur of other conversations, and the frantic pounding of my own heart. What am I going to talk about? Should I open with a joke? Mark says I'm funny, but first date humor is a high-stakes gamble. Every time the bell chimes, my head snaps toward the door. Is that her? That light footstep? That soft laugh? My mind tries to paint a picture from the sounds, a portrait I'll never see. Her profile said she loved hiking and old jazz. I picture someone with a kind smile. Someone patient. That's the word I keep coming back to. Patient. Then, the bell chimes again. A pause. And a voice, closer this time, asks the host, "Hi, I'm here to meet Liam." It's her. The voice from the phone. Honey and sunshine. Right this way, the host says. I hear her footsteps approaching. I stand up, probably a little too fast, my hand outstretched toward the sound. Clara. Hi, I'm Liam. Her hand finds mine. Her grip is firm, confident. Liam. It's so good to finally meet you. You too, I manage, my voice steadier than I expected. Please, have a seat. We both sit. The usual pleasantries fill the air, the weather, the traffic, how nice the cafe smells. It's the standard script, the small talk that builds a fragile bridge between two strangers. So far, so normal. But the tightrope is still there, waiting for me. The moment is coming. The moment I have to say it, the waiter arrives, his presence announced by a sudden whiff of cologne. Good afternoon. Can I get you started with some drinks? I'll have a black coffee, please, I say. My standard, safe order. And for you, ma'am, the waiter asks Clara. There's a tiny pause. She says, her voice thoughtful. I can't quite make out the specials board from here. Could you tell me what the seasonal latte is? It's a simple question. But something in her tone, a familiar, practiced way of asking, makes my ears perk up. The waiter reads out the special, some kind of pumpkin spice thing. That sounds lovely. I'll have that, please, she says. As the waiter leaves, I decide to test the waters with a little self-deprecating humor. It's my go-to strategy. I'm glad you asked, I say with a light chuckle. I have the same problem with the menu. For me, it might as well be written in ancient Greek. I tap the laminated menu on the table. Not a lot of Braille menus out there. I brace for the usual response. A sympathetic noise. An awkward oh. Maybe a clumsy offer to help. But Clara doesn't do any of times. Instead, she lets out a genuine, throaty laugh. It's a wonderful sound. Tell me about it, she says, her voice full of a shared, knowing humor. And even when you find one, it feels like it's been through a war. Sticky pages, half the dots worn off. Last week I tried to order a panini and nearly ended up with pickled herring. I freeze. My brain stutters, trying to process her words. Sticky pages. Half the dots worn off. Those aren't the words of a sighted person trying to be nice. Those are the words of someone who knows. My mouth opens, but nothing comes out. All the scenarios I'd practiced, all my carefully rehearsed speeches, they all just vanish. Wait, I finally stammer, my voice barely a whisper. You don't mean. You didn't know, she asks, pure, unfiltered surprise in her voice. Oh my God. Our friend Rachel, who set us up, she didn't tell you. Tell me what? I ask, my mind reeling. Liam, she says, and I can hear a massive smile in her voice, a mix of disbelief and delight. I'm blind. Silence. For a solid 10 seconds, the only sound is the hiss of the espresso machine and the faint jazz playing in the background. My entire world just tilted on its axis. The tightrope I was so terrified of walking has disappeared, replaced by solid ground. We're not on opposite sides of a divide. We're on the same side. We're in the same world. And then, I start to laugh. Not a polite chuckle, but a deep, rolling laugh that comes from my gut. It's a laugh of shock, of relief, of the sheer, beautiful absurdity of it all. A moment later, Clara joins in, our laughter mingling, creating this bubble of shared astonishment in the middle of a busy cafe. He was nervous for his blind date, and then he realized she was blind too. The laughter eventually fades, but it leaves the air completely changed. The tension is gone, replaced by a giddy sense of friendship. I cannot believe this, I say, shaking my head. I spent the entire bus ride trying to figure out how I was going to bring it up. The timing, the wording. I had a whole speech prepared. Oh, the speech. Clara exclaims, and I can hear her lean forward in her chair. I know the speech all too well. It has a prequel, the dating profile dilemma, to disclose or not to disclose. Followed by the sequel, answering the top 5 most asked questions, I add, jumping right in. Number 1, so can you see, like, shadows or anything? Number 2, is it true your other senses are, superhuman? She volleys back, her impression of a curious person spot on. Oh, absolutely, I say, dropping my voice to a conspiratorial whisper. I can smell a poorly written email from 3 cubicles away. It's a gift. She laughs again, and the sound is music. My personal favorite is number 3, so, how do you pick out your clothes? As if we all just stumble around in mismatched chaos. My sister is my designated chaos coordinator, I admit. She tells me this shirt is a charming shade of blue. For all I know, it's neon green with pink polka dots. Well, for what it's worth, your charming blue shirt sounds lovely with your voice, she says. The casual, sincere compliment lands with a warmth that has nothing to do with my coffee. For me, attraction has always been about these things, the rhythm of a voice, the warmth in a laugh, the way someone tells a story. The conversation just flows, easier than any first date I've ever had. We don't have to explain anything. We can just talk. We trade stories about the horrors of assistive technology, the screen reader that pronounces a potential date's name as Jinachi instead of gnocchi, or the GPS that confidently announces, you have arrived, when you're standing in front of a hedge. The worst is dating apps, she says with a groan. Trying to get a friend to describe a profile picture is an exercise in abstract art. Okay, so he has hair. And a face. He looks outdoorsy. What does that even mean? Is he wrestling a bear or just standing next to a potted plant? I snort with laughter. I had a friend describe someone as having kind eyes. That's the go-to. It's the descriptive equivalent of a shrug. We talk about the frustrating side of things, too. The well-meaning but smothering help from strangers, the constant need to advocate for yourself. She tells me about a guy who spent an entire date talking to her in a loud, slow voice, as if she were also deaf and maybe not too bright. He kept patting my hand and saying, "You're so brave," she recalls. I'm drinking a latte, not summiting Everest. It's not bravery, it's caffeine. I had a date who insisted on cutting my food for me, I share. She grabbed my fork, speared a piece of chicken, and tried to fly it into my mouth. In a crowded restaurant. I felt like a toddler in a high chair. As we talk, I realize how much of my brain is normally dedicated to just managing the other person's perception of me. A part of me is always focused on putting them at ease, proving I'm independent, showing them I'm more than my disability. With Clara, that part of my brain is silent for the first time. I don't have to prove anything. She just gets it. This feeling, being understood without a single word of explanation, it's so profound it's almost overwhelming. Our food arrives. We navigate our plates with the practiced, subtle techniques that are second nature to us. There are no awkward offers to help, no self-conscious fumbling. Just the comfortable sound of 2 people enjoying a meal. The conversation deepens. We move from funny stories into the heart of things. She's a music therapist, I'm a software developer working on accessibility tech. We talk about our families, our dreams, the futures we imagine. I find myself telling her things I've never told anyone on a first date. I talk about the frustration of a world designed for sight, but also the unique beauty I find in it, the texture of an old brick wall, the specific scent of a bookstore, the way you can feel a room's energy just by listening. She understands completely. People think we're missing out, she says softly. And sure, in some ways, we are. I'd love to see a sunset. But they don't realize what they're missing, either. They don't listen the same way. Their world is so dominated by one sense, they forget to really use the others. Her words hit me right in the chest. It's a thought I've had 1,000 times but never said so perfectly. There's a lull in the conversation, a warm, comfortable silence. All I can hear is her gentle breathing and the distant clink of a spoon against a mug. The chaotic energy from before is gone, replaced by a deep sense of peace. Clara, I say quietly. Can I tell you something a little strange? I think we're past the point of strange being off the table, she replies, a smile in her voice. This is the first time in my entire life, I begin, choosing my words carefully, that I haven't had to explain my world to someone on a first date. This is the first time I feel like someone is actually seeing me. The silence that follows isn't empty, it's full of emotion. When she finally speaks, her voice is thick with it. Me too, Liam. Me too. It's like I can just breathe. I didn't even realize I was holding my breath until now. That's it. That's the feeling. Holding your breath for years. And finally, being able to let it out. In this little cafe, with this woman whose face I will never see, I feel more seen than I ever have in my life. It isn't just about a shared disability. It's deeper. It's the rare, incredible relief of finding someone who speaks your language in a world that so often feels like a foreign country. The afternoon sun must be slanting through the window, I can feel a gentle warmth on my face. The lunch rush is over, and the cafe has grown quiet. Our plates are empty, our coffee cups drained, but neither of us moves to leave. So, Clara says, breaking the quiet. Her tone is light, playful. For our second date, should we dare to try a movie? I laugh. Only if it has audio description and you promise not to judge my obsession with popcorn. It's a deal, she says. But you have to promise not to laugh when I inevitably get lost on the way to the restroom. I think we can navigate that together, I say, and the simple phrase hangs in the air, full of a meaning that goes way beyond a movie theater. Navigating it together. It sounds right. We get the bill and have a good-natured argument over who pays, which ends with us asking the waiter to just split it down the middle. Standing outside the cafe, the city sounds swirl around us. The goodbye, usually the most awkward part of a first date, feels completely natural. I have to catch the number 7 bus east, she says. The stop is just around the corner. I'm heading west on the 4, I reply. My stop is across the street. Our logistics, which so often complicate things, are just another point of simple, shared understanding. Well, Liam, she says, and I hear her turn fully towards me. This was, without a doubt, the most unexpectedly wonderful date of my life. I was just thinking the exact same thing, I say, my smile so wide it almost hurts. Clara, can I have your number? She lets out a bright, happy laugh. I was hoping you'd ask. We exchange numbers, our fingers tapping our phone screens as our screen readers dutifully announce the digits. A perfectly modern, perfectly normal end to a date that was anything but. I'll text you, I say. I'll be waiting, she replies. I hear her footsteps and the light, rhythmic tap-tap-tap of her cane as she walks away. I stand there for a moment, just listening until the sound fades into the city's symphony. Turning toward my bus stop, my own cane finds the familiar path. But something's different. The weight I carried here is gone. The anxious monologue in my head is gone, replaced by the echo of her laughter. I started the day terrified of being judged for my blindness, and I'm ending it having found a connection not just in spite of it, but because of it. Walking through a world I cannot see, I am, for the first time in a long time, incredibly hopeful about what's ahead. Sometimes, the very thing we're most afraid to show someone is the one thing that connects us most deeply. Liam and Clara's story is a beautiful reminder that our vulnerabilities can be our greatest strengths. True connection isn't about hiding our flaws, it's about finding that person who sees the world the same way we do. If this story warmed your heart, please give it a like, and share your own stories of unexpected connections in the comments. Subscribe for more content that celebrates the surprising ways we find each other. You never know who might need a reminder that they aren't alone.